Right now on Tech Radio, we're not mad. You're mad.
Hi, I'm Artemis. I am a computer-generated AI voice, and you're listening to Tech Radio.
Every week online, we bring you the latest in tech from Ireland and across the world. You're welcome to episode 1103. This week, looking back as always on the top stories of the week, including plans for a digital euro, big changes at XAI, and what's going on with Siri. Plus, we'll be looking at how educators are banding together to make sense of AI with Jonathan Dempsey of Responsible AI for Learning.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
I'm Dusty. Joining me as always, our editor-in-chief, Niall Kitson. Niall, big weekend?
Yeah. As someone who doesn't watch the Super Bowl, I was watching something else related to it. And I'm surprised you haven't. This has been all over Tinterwebs, is Anthropic's series of mic drop ads against OpenAI, all of which are hilarious, I have to say. I mean, I've watched them all multiple times. You haven't watched them at all. Were you even aware these things were out in the world?
Do you know, it's funny, I don't know why I didn't watch it, because I love marketing and advertising, and Super Bowl, you get the best of the best. And I did see a video come across on YouTube to say all the Super Bowl ads. I just didn't have time to sit down and watch it.
Okay.
Well, listen, but let's the one that you have in mind is what?
I have chosen one, right? And the title on it is How Do I Get a Six-Pack?
So just to give a little bit of context before we play the audio, from what I see on the notes here, this is an ad for Anthropic, and they're kind of taking the mick a little bit and having a go at OpenAI and the way that ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff talks to people. So the role that is being played in this ad that we're about to hear is, we've got a nice little skinny guy who wants to beef himself up, and then we've got a big good-looking gym instructor who is playing the role of OpenAI. Let's take a listen to it.
Hey, can I get a six-pack quickly?
Perfect. That is a clear and achievable goal. Would you like me to tailor a personalized workout plan?
Yes.
Perfect. Let me personalize this for you. Let's start with your age, weight, and height. Whenever you're ready.
5'7", 23 years old, 140 pounds.
Got it. I'll create a plan that focuses on aesthetic strength training. But confidence isn't just built in the gym. Try Step Boost Max, the insoles that add 1 vertical inch of height and help short kings stand tall.
What?
Use code HEIGhtMaxing10 for big discounts.
Oh, I do like that. That's funny. The little pause while the gym instructor, the AI, is thinking about the answer, and then he starts putting in the ads. Of course, ChatGPT and that. Go on. Yes, go on.
Yeah, I see. What the world didn't see was Dusty doubling over in laughter. And there's 3 more of these that you can find at your leisure. They all do very similar things, very similar scripting, all on the button of 1 minute and 1 second.
Yeah.
Up on the YouTube. But I mean, in terms of mic drops, I don't think I've seen anything that brutal in a good while.
Really? Because like American advertising it's not uncommon to have that in American advertising. We would never do it in Europe.
Ads.
But,
no, we're far too polite.
I do like that, but they are also really going for OpenAI because OpenAI, ChatGPT are introducing advertising soon. I think to combat that, what Anthropic are doing with Claude is they are opening up Claude even more and allowing free users to do even more.
Yeah,
so
I think that's their strategy, all right. Yeah.
So the thinking be, all right, well, look, you know ChatGPT, and if you really want to pay to do all this stuff you can do for free with Claude, off you go. Be interested.
Okay. So Sam Altman went full Taylor Swift on this. And posted a I'm not mad, you're mad response up on X, which turned out to be something in the region of a 400-word essay. So no better sign that you're not annoyed at something rather than go, haha, very funny, I get it, and moving on. Instead, we get sure. Let's just read a little bit of a little bit of goodness from it. So, okay, this is Sam Altman, head of OpenAI. He said, first, the good part of the Anthropic ads, they're funny and I laughed. Break. But I wonder why Anthropic would go for something so clearly dishonest. Our most important principle for ads says that they won't do exactly this. We would obviously never run ads in a way that Anthropic depicts them. We are not stupid and we know our users would reject that. Pause. I guess it's on brand for Anthropic doublespeak to use a deceptive ad to critique theoretical deceptive ads that aren't real. But as a Super Bowl ad is not where I would expect it. Right. I'm not going to read the whole thing. No, don't.
But yeah, he's angry. He is angry.
Oh,
and you know what?
Oh, yeah.
If he's angry, I think that they've hit on something. They've hit on something very personal there. I think definitely if he's doing that. You know, I love seeing wars, and it's a while since we've seen kind of like. Do you remember like the Microsoft versus Apple battles and stuff like that? Like and.
Yeah, well, the brilliant ads of I'm a Mac and I'm a PC.
Yeah.
We all remember those very fondly.
Yeah.
I'm sure only a couple of weeks ago we had Elon Musk versus Michael O'Leary, which Michael O'Leary comprehensively won. And very quickly.
What? You think so?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I think Michael O'Leary absolutely won that.
That's what I'm saying. Michael O'Leary won.
I thought you were coming out on the side of Elon Musk. I was going, what's wrong? Who is this now kissing in front of me?
Elon is just fine, and we'll talk about him in a bit.
That we will.
But yeah, he got kicked about on that one.
Well, there we go. So listen, that's what's going on with Anthropic. Most interesting. Also on digital stuff, there's talk this week once again of us getting a digital euro. Pray tell more.
Talk of us getting a digital euro for quite a few years at this stage. And it was almost kind of about. Okay, we have this thing called Bitcoin in the world. People like it as a digital asset. And there's bits of it that are actually quite useful, like the element of privacy. That's pretty useful. We can do it better. If we were to peg its value to something, actual instead of pure speculation, there's something here. Now, thanks to the current administration in the US, the world is looking to solutions outside American companies. And when it comes to payments, we're beholden to MasterCard and Visa, which are American companies. So the digital euro is Europe's experiment in looking at, why are we reliant on infrastructure developed by American companies? We really should be looking for our own internal solutions. And that's where the digital euro comes in, because when I was looking at it as an overview, I was like, is this not just the same as MasterCard and Visa? And it is and it isn't the point. It is the point in that, yes, it is quite similar. But also, if we can remove those American players from our everyday lives and replace with a European one, or at least give the choice of having a European player against American options, well, then this is pretty much where it sits in. And, the digital euro, of course, pegged to the value as set by the European Central Bank. So there's stability there. And there's immediate cross-territory compatibility. So it's hard to see the downside here. You're stroking your chin in a vaguely skeptical manner.
I don't think I think it's interesting that you say it's let's get the American companies out of here, because that's what's going on with the whole geopolitical thing. So that's a reason why it's happening now. Because why didn't we say 20, 30 years ago, why are we reliant on two American credit card companies? Why don't we have our own European credit card? So I think it's to do with the geopolitical situation, what's going on with Trump, etc. That's the reason possibly that it's coming in. And I think that cryptocurrency and the adoption of cryptocurrency and the chain in general is possibly helping that.
Well, yes. As I said, it sold the idea. Now, crypto over the last month has seen its value slashed. I think as we're talking, it's down over 50% on its highs. Yeah. So, again, it's a speculative asset. I've always sort of come down on the side of it's for speculators and criminals. And over the last while, we have seen its standing absolutely destroyed, in partly because of the Trump administration, which came in saying, we're going to be the most crypto-friendly administration ever. And we've discovered that that pretty much just means if you want to buy out, if you want to buy large amounts of Trump-related cryptocurrency, we will sort you out with a favor, capital F, favor. Now, I mean, there's all sorts of shenanigans going in the background there. So, that's not a direct quote by any stretch.
No.
But
I think though,
this is the climate we're in.
Yeah, I'd have a different view. And I think that Trump coming into office probably just ignited the bull run, which was probably expected. And values maybe went higher than you would expect, but they were going to go high anyway. We're almost 18 months after that particular period, which was the start of 2025. Which is as expected, where 18 months after a peak, crypto would lose maybe up to 80% of its value. That's what's happened after all of the halvings over the last, say 15 years or so. All right. So what's happening at the moment is not unexpected. However, let's get this back to a digital euro, okay? And I think what we're seeing in the world is the whole concept of blockchain is being taken to heart by Europe because they want to have something digital that works like cash. Okay? And for cash, you don't need banks. So crypto and, the chain could be a good way of doing it. So it's a kind of an interesting thing. The other thing in relation to Bitcoin, I think one of the attractions of Bitcoin for a lot of people is that it is not related to any particular government or controlled by any particular central bank. It is something that stands independently. And if you call them criminals. But if you're a private person and you just don't want to deal with banks because you find them annoying, well, you can pay for stuff in Bitcoin if you so wish. It's independent. It's just another currency is the way that I would look at it.
Well, if you remember, the last crypto winter, I think was 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Where we had interesting discussions on it. And it was basically the implosion of a coin and an exchange pretty much sent the whole market into a tailspin. Yeah. Now we're kind of on the other end of things where we're seeing money come into crypto, but the actual value of it going down. And I think the halving certainly had an impact in there as well. But I think, as a digital asset, I've very little faith in crypto. So I think a digital euro will do quite well. You raise an excellent point there about being able to unbank, and the privacy element of it is very good as well. So, for those two reasons, I'm very much in favor of it. A third very important reason is the reduction in our reliance on US infrastructure.
Grant, we shall keep an eye on that. Let's go back to another bad week for Elon Musk. He just always seems to have one bad week after another. We had the story where SpaceX was going to invest in AI, and there was a kind of a conglomeration of companies are coming together, and now we have XAI in the world. All right. However, all is not good with the founders of XAI. Tell me.
Oh, look, I mean, the whole reason that XAI was absorbed into SpaceX was because X is not profitable. X was absorbed by XAI. XAI is not profitable. So it's been absorbed into SpaceX. And if you want to be a bit of a doomer about it, you can look at what's happening with Tesla and the products they're interested in developing, particularly robotaxis and humanoid robots. Those aren't going to be mass market winners. So what's going to happen? Are they going to be folded into SpaceX? Will SpaceX be the brand going forward? I think that's going to be the way it is. However, Elon Musk does not get things the way he wants them all the time, which is why X got folded into XAI in the first place. And XAI, a startup that he was a co-founder of, there was 12 of them at the start. 5 of them have now left. And it's very much it's hard to see what the logic is going on here. I mean, Elon Musk went into then Twitter with his kitchen sink, sort of let that sink in. Oh, isn't it hilarious? and got rid of their trust and safety team and doesn't engage with the media, just treats X now as his personal blowhorn, and that's kind of it. Consequently, he's not engaging in any investigations into his company or Grok or anything like that. So this is Jimmy Ba, the latest two to leave, who was head of research, security and business operations, and Tony Wu, who led the reasoning team. So there's only 5 of the original 12 left. Apparently, as of March 2025, it had 1,200 employees. And separate to that, according to my notes here, that's including engineers and those focused on X, and also included 900 employees that served solely as what they're calling AI tutors, and about 500 of those were laid off last September. So it's kind of, maybe they're looking at it as, okay, we're going to teach our AI LLM through X.
Okay.
Because we know that others have been taught through the likes of Reddit, that kind of thing. That this is sort of the material that we're going to get, which would explain why they sort of tout Grok as being, the most based AI out there, the most based chatbot. If you're learning from a space like X, that's kind of inevitable. But I think this is a bad look for XAI. I think it's a bad look for Elon Musk. What do you reckon?
Well, all I hear is the words rats, ship and sinking. Would that be fair enough? No. Also, Elon Musk, and again, now when you think of Elon Musk and you said, name a planet, Mars, first thing that comes into your head, okay?
Sure.
Because he's famous. But it sounds like there's a bit of a backtrack on that lately.
Well, I mean, he went around for how long wearing that Occupy Mars t-shirt? Yeah. And that was always the great thing. We're going to Mars. Hey ho, everybody. It's going to happen. He has since reined this in quite a bit. I think he's saying right now that a manned mission to Mars is about 30 years away. That's his latest thing on it. So he is focused on the moon. He likes the idea of the moon. He thinks we can get there. You think we can get there. You're kind of looking forward to seeing another manned mission to the moon.
I can't wait.
So what's the Musk magic that's going to be sprinkled on this moon mission? Well, he reckons, first of all, that we're going to get a moon base, but he also has a pretty novel idea for one of the missions accompanying it. In that he's come up with he's thinking of an interesting way to push satellites into orbit, and it's not so much about launching rockets from the moon.
Go on.
It's about flinging them from the moon into space.
He wants to build a catapult.
Catapults.
Okay?
Yeah.
But he wants to build a catapult on the moon.
Yeah. Now, I'm laughing now, but I mean, that's not to say this won't actually work.
That is
because
not
when you're in
the craziest idea I have ever heard.
Well, the bar is pretty low, Dusty. We do a technology show.
Think about
come across some fairly wacky ideas.
The gravity on the moon is a fraction of what it is on Earth, and there is little to no atmosphere on the moon. Okay, so basically, if you can catapult something off the moon into a trajectory around the moon or whatever, that makes perfect sense. Absolute perfect sense to me. Yeah, I would imagine it would need to be a pretty damn big catapult. But I think it's absolutely doable. But then again, kind of the satellite. Of course, satellites don't necessarily need to have very big engines or anything like that. They just need positioning more than anything else, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, now you've got me thinking now. Oh, what have you gotten done now? I'm going to be thinking about this for the remainder of the day.
Yeah.
But I think Elon Musk is correct to rein back on Mars. I don't think we're going to see Mars in our lifetime. Sorry, when I say that, I mean, I don't think we're going to see a settlement on Mars in our lifetime. I think it's very likely that we will see a human being walk on the surface of Mars. That's entirely possible within our lifetime. But it makes sense if you think about it. It's a week's trip to the moon. No, it's not. It's a week's round trip to the moon at the moment. It takes them 3 or 4 days to get there. Whereas it can take, 18 months or something to get to Mars or something? I say a year. It's a much long, So the whole idea of the moon, it's sitting there. It's kind of like, a little research lab just kind of hanging out there in the sky. It's like, okay, great. Well, then let's send up, 1,000 of his rockets in one go. They'll land so much stuff onto the moon. You'd be able to build your a moon base in much harsher environment than what we would find on Mars, because there is some kind of an atmosphere on Mars and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh no! What have you gone and done? You did that. My brain is just going to be thinking Mars, moon, bases, catapults, satellites.
Yeah.
God damn you, Kitson.
I threw that in for your benefit. Whenever I put in a space economy story, you just... Your brain goes off in different directions.
Do you know what? I think it's fantastic that we have in the world people who think like that. And every time I hear, do you know who Elon Musk reminds me of? I don't know if you remember.
Blofeld.
No, not quite that bad. Do you know the movie Contact?
Yeah.
With Jodie Foster. And there was a mad millionaire character in that, multi-billionaire, S.R. Haddon.
Right.
Can't remember the name of the actor who played them. Let me just Google it here. Okay, let me see. But he was kind of like, his thing was that he lived in space. He didn't live on Earth. He lived in space, and that if he had to come down to Earth, he would just be on a plane. That's where he had all his meetings with Jodie Foster and stuff like that. But he would think like that. John Hurt, that's the actor who played him. But he would think like that. He would be an absolute bananas out there thinker, which is what Musk is. So I think, put it this way, it's like Trump said this once, and he's absolutely correct. It's not often I'll agree with him, all right? But here's what he said. He said, half of the world hates me. He said, but half like me. Imagine what we could do with that half that like me. All right? Think about Musk. Half of the ideas he has are bananas. But what if he actually did something with half of the ideas? With the other half? Do you know what I mean? How much further would that push us in society and stuff like that? Oh my God, this is deep thinking. It's not even 5 o'clock. I haven't had a glass of anything other than a coffee. Tell me about moving on. Harvard Business Review. There's a new study there that finds out that AI is not quite having the effect that we thought about working harder and smarter.
Well, this is actually a really interesting study that I came across, because an awful lot of our coverage of AI as it applies to work has centered on whatever AI is put out. People are spending half the time again making sure it's accurate, and particularly in the law, we're seeing cases go in front of judges that are just complete nonsense. And are being thrown out because, the AI is making up cases that have never happened and being referenced and that kind of thing. So 2 researchers from University of California, Berkeley, conducted a study. They surveyed 40 workers at a tech company that employs 200 people overall. Now, the company in question did not mandate the use of AI amongst its employees, so they didn't have to use AI. So they're just talking to the ones who did, and there were sort of a suite of acceptable tools, if you will, that people could use. And they found that given the option, it wasn't so much that people were using it and correcting it; it's that they were actually taking on more. They were finding that, okay, right, we can do stuff. We can do more stuff. So let's just keep doing more and more and more. So as a result, people ended up working much harder simply because they had unlocked, if you will, the potential of AI, and didn't seem to have, the, hey, it's 5 o'clock, we've got homes to go to and families to look after and that kind of thing. Much in the same way that I suppose when we all went home for COVID, that bosses were like, oh God, remote work. People are just, it's going to be a disaster. Yeah. It's going to be an absolute disaster. But when the tools were given to people, people actually found it harder to switch off because they were sitting at the kitchen table all day doing what they would, or the home office. And when, 5:30 came around or 6 o'clock came around, they'd be like, oh, I just finished this thing here that I was working on. We've all fallen into that trap. We've all worked late because we didn't have to change, position or location or anything like that. And we're seeing that in one organization anyway, happen with AI, that as soon as these options are opened up to people, people are doing a lot more. So an interesting study, one that sort of goes against what we're seeing out in the wide world.
Okay.
But hey, for some people, AI does seem to work.
Another very interesting story this week about AI. Just as we have humans coming in and you interview them and check their CV, and if you have the particularly important position, you will give them background checks and stuff like that. Somebody is kind of looking at AI in the same light. Who?
Yeah, this is Cisco President Jeetu Patel. He was speaking in an interview with Euronews Next, and he was talking about when it comes to AI agents, you need to, as you said, interview them in pretty much the same way you would a person. So it's this kind of interesting concept where, okay, we have a task, let's get an agent to do it. What's this agent actually like? What will they do? What questions can they answer? Is this agent actually a security threat? Where did it come from? All of these little considerations. We're used to the app marketplace. We're going to have a bot marketplace. So it's very important that people ask the same questions of something that will be taking up the role of a person as a person. I'm quite intrigued.
Yeah.
In a way, it makes sense. What do you think?
I think it makes absolute sense. Absolutely. Same as you would do with any piece of software. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to roll out a piece of software across your company, you're going to check it out and what is its pros and cons and costs and how's it going to fit in and all that kind of stuff. So why would you not do that with AI? Makes absolute perfect sense. Last story for the week, and this is to do with Apple, who are continuously promising us Apple AI and a new Siri to come, and so far, nada.
Well, I mean, Apple Intelligence is here, so we can't completely.
He said, question mark.
Well, I mean, we all know how intelligent these things really are.
Yeah, well, exactly. Is anybody? No, nobody's talking about it. What does it do?
And I think what's interesting about Apple Intelligence is that it exposed Apple's underinvestment in LLMs. That, initially they were like, okay, we're going to partner with OpenAI. That didn't work out the way they wanted to. Now they're partnering with Google for Gemini, and that's going to be, powering Siri, I suppose. According to Bloomberg, you can forget about, the new version of Siri was supposed to be with us in March. It's not going to happen. It looks like it'll be an update to 24.6, as in iOS 24.6, later this year, maybe as early as May. Personally, I think it'll be September or later. Apple themselves have said, well, here in 2026, that's incredibly vague. So anyway, from a technical level, the current version of Siri uses an architecture called Linwood. It's Apple's own LLM, of course, backed by Gemini. And we will see a chatbot style Siri, codenamed Campo, with iOS 27. That's kind of a ways away. I am not terribly enthused at the prospect of a smarter Siri. Will they be able to do it? I think so. I think it might be Gemini with a Siri wrapper around it.
Listen, Gemini is unbelievable. If you haven't played with it, you have to play it. Get the app for your phone and talk to it. It's unreal. All right. The Apple would really want to apply a lot of their Apple polish onto that to make it something supreme. Yeah. But I don't. Anyway, look, we'll wait and see. They're absolutely brilliant at coming along later and making things even better than anyone ever thought. So we'll see what they do. Listen, let's wrap it up for now. They are all the news stories of the week. Niall, as always, thanks for giving us your spin on them all.
Delivering Irish tech news since 2006, this is Tech Radio.
One thing common to every conversation that we've had on Tech Radio with teachers and ed tech developers and academics and so on is that when it comes to AI, we're pretty much making it up as we go along. However, thanks to an initiative spearheaded by the Learnovate Centre at Trinity College Dublin, that may not be the case for very much longer. RAIL, which is a good acronym for Responsible AI for Learning, is a community practice that will have its first online meeting on the 24th of February. And this might be of interest to you to join. To find out more about it, Niall Kitson spoke to RAIL Chair and Commercial Director of Diotima, Jonathan Dempsey, to find out more.
So, Jonathan, one of the recurring questions of the application of AI in different sectors is this sort of a common sense of, are we doing this right? And in the sense of, by applying AI, are we actually degrading our core skills? So in much the same way that students in years past found their ability to research was sort of impeded, or to learn how to research was affected by the likes of Wikipedia, without sort of applying any kind of critical nous to it. Are we seeing something similar with AI, where it's a similar kind of, we're not entirely sure what the rules are, we know that it can do stuff, but how do we evaluate its actual benefit, particularly in the classroom?
I think there's always been a range of people who are curious and rigorous, right through to people who will take every shortcut available to them. And I think AI is no different, perhaps with a little bit more opportunity to take shortcuts. But we're also maturing in how we're approaching this. So initially in education, the reaction was, what's this AI thing? Let's keep it out of teaching and learning, put a cap on it. And it was, that was whatever, November 22. I remember being at an Irish Learning Technologies conference in June 23, and education was just starting to get over that notion that this had to be stopped and it needed to be embraced in some way, but at a very immature stage. And there are a lot of smart people in education, and people are coming up with solutions and approaches. There are certainly risks.
So I know in teaching there is sort of two schools of thought, if you will. One that is trying to maintain what we regard as core skills now and filter out AI as much as possible, or use AI to identify points at which those skills are, in danger of being lost, versus a second school which accepts that AI is coming into the classroom, and it's all about testing and assessing and identifying skills that are most beneficial in the classroom. Are you seeing that play out in real life, or is this still very much in the debate space?
It was both. So it's in debate and will remain in debate for a long time, but it's also happening in reality. One of the things that's changing radically is assessment. We're going back to basics to a certain extent, or although some people are also using AI in their assessment to assess the critical thinking of students in understanding AI outputs. I mean, there's a lot of AI in use in education. Some of it's shadow AI, where students and even teachers are using AI with very little awareness by the schools or the learning organization. But there are also things happening to change that, and there are certain responsibilities among schools, learning organizations, and ed tech providers to adhere to standards. So we most of us will know about the EU AI Act, but there are others. So there's a recently published general scheme for the regulation of AI and Bill 2026. And in the UK, very interestingly, to get a different perspective, there is a newly published just last month Department of Education standards for generative AI product use, which is causing some providers and some learning organizations, including schools, to go back to the drawing board because they were doing things perhaps that they shouldn't have been doing and certainly won't be allowed to do under the new legislation. And this is all going towards a journey where we're better able to manage this situation and keep kids and keep learners safe and make content more appropriate to learners and to learning situations.
I think one of the interesting things from the EU AI Act is that it's almost sort of a bend, don't break kind of approach because it is looking at risk as opposed to specific outputs. Is that something that you are looking to implement or as part of Rail to adopt that similar approach that, this technology is ever evolving? We're probably never going to have something called, the rules or something codified, that it's a constant process of being agile and adaptive.
Yeah, so both in certainly in our own project in Trinity College, Diatima, we've been working very, very hard to meet the requirements of the EU AI Act ahead of there being the regulatory framework or a specific regulator for education. So we're trying to anticipate it. It's been really, really interesting looking particularly at the new UK standards because it is quite practical and we're having to do a few tweaks to make sure that we are hitting the same points that they're pointing out, like the need for a designated safety lead, if you like, in school-going kids, where if there is content detected either produced by the learner or by the AI that is inappropriate, that the designated service lead is informed. It's absolutely a journey. So when we had our initial meeting to discuss the formation of Rail with 50 people in a room in Trinity, there was an appetite for knowledge and experience and understanding. It's why we put the Rail community of practice in place. The purpose of that meeting was to understand, had we it right that there was that need, and there was a huge endorsement at that we're on a journey. Everybody we talk to is sharing their perspectives and knowledge, and we're definitely developing in the right direction.
Yeah, when you mentioned that community of practice, it's not just a local entity, though. It does have an international element.
Yeah, so we're happy to see wherever it goes. So initially, it's about education in an Irish context, and at that meeting that I mentioned, we had people from formal education, so schools, from higher education, from vocational education and training, and from professional education. And actually, we even included, there were people from the department, there were teaching unions were in the room, a very, very mixed group. And in my experience from working in EdTech over 20 plus years, generally people don't like mixing. They think, even if they're talking about the same topics, they think there's such individualized context that they don't want to necessarily mix. I'm not seeing any of that this time. So people are really hungry to learn from each other, and there's no doubt that they want to gain that perspective. So what we've done for the upcoming inaugural meeting, having formed the group Rail, which stands for Responsible AI for Learning, we have a speaker from Europe, Jill Farrell. She's actually English but lives in France. She's the executive director of the standards body One EdTech, which was formerly called IMS Global. It's originated in the US, but it does global standards for education, and will be part of that journey towards maturing understanding and management of AI in education. But like in a lot of things, AI has been extraordinarily disruptive to education, and we need to corral it to guard against some of the pitfalls. But it's also a massive opportunity to accelerate things. Like when Learnovate is working, so we're a project based in the Learnovate Centre in Trinity College, Learnovate is working on many AI-related projects, as many research centers and organizations are across Europe. And you're absolutely right. These are massive issues that will be best solved together.
Just to sort of talk about Diotima for a little bit, just tell us a little bit about the offering and what you're looking to achieve with it.
Okay, so we're a project funded by Enterprise Ireland under the Commercialisation Fund. We're just over a year in. We have another 4 months left to run. And what it's about is supporting teaching practice through the use of AI for formative assessment and feedback. And what formative assessment is assessment for learning rather than of learning. So we're not grading, but we're enhancing the learning outcome or work towards the exam or test or whatever it might be. So we're using. So we have our first focus is on teaching and learning. One of our co-principal investigators is Anne Devitt, who's the head of the School of Education in Trinity, and she's helped us to guide the workflow for better teaching practice, more active learning on the learning side. The AI, we are working with Carl Fogel, who is professor in the School of Computing in Trinity, and with 2 AI postdoctoral researchers to enhance the quality of the AI. We're using various tools to make that a little bit better, a bit more reliable. And then we're also trying to help our prospective customers, and we're not an offering yet. We will be an offering to help with compliance. And we have a compliance consultant, Owen Lane, who used to be head of AI for Bank of New York Mellon in a previous life, and we've been very lucky to get him. So it's really those 3 pillars, with a view to making it much easier for teachers to give more formative assessments, so practice tests, homework perhaps in some contexts, and then to create individualized feedback to the student responses to those assessment items. Because it's just easier for teachers or tutors to review personalized feedback rather than to create personalized feedback. And they can fully edit it. And like, for instance, one of our trial partners is the Law Society of Ireland. And that particular cohort that we're going to be working on in trialing this for them has 150 learners on it. So you can imagine personalized feedback on an assessment item for 150 would be a lot of work and effectively impractical, whereas we can make that possible.
That's really interesting that you're sort of looking towards, I suppose, a profession noted for being argumentative and pedantic. It's quite a high bar for AI to be set on, really. What sort of put you in that direction?
So we're creating a platform. At least our intention is to create a platform that can be used in any domain. We're working very hard to make that AI reliable, based in the source of truth that the learning organization is relying on, be that textbooks or learning materials in different environments, and to ensure that the integrity of those sources of truth go all the way through to the feedback. A core aspect of this, and it's aligned with the EU AI Act, is human in the loop. In this case, teacher or tutor in the loop. So, some people think it's an inconvenience that you might need to have a human in the loop, but actually it's a benefit in this environment, because you have a final arbiter of reliability of the outputs before they're released to the learner. So we think it can be used anywhere.
That's always sort of fascinating to me. It's sort of looking at AI as something that can help in an argument, as well as something that I would regard as being sort of a harder science, if you will. So in sort of working with Diotima and Rail together. Do you see the two do you see it as being a mutually beneficial relationship? Or, is it something that the discussion is happening over here? We want to get the basics of our product right over there.
Well, we're doing both. And Rail came out of DOTMA from our experiences of talking to government agencies, to schools, to professional organizations, and seeing that there was an appetite for more knowledge and more understanding and sharing and collaboration. So the way we saw it was the AI Advisory Council was doing excellent work, is advising government, and government is issuing advice guidelines, AI implementation guidelines. But they land, and we think collectively, DOTMA and every other organization that is either an implementer or a practitioner in the use of AI for education can be better together in understanding and the issues and opportunities. So we really see them as completely compatible. We'll share our knowledge and we'll gain to a similar extent.
And that was Jonathan Dempsey from DOTMA and Rail talking with Niall Kitson. You can register for Rail's free online event. You get all the details at learnovate.org/events. And as always, that link will be sitting in the description area of this podcast for you.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
That's it for our show this week. Do check out some of the stories. Even though we had loads of stories, there's still more online that we couldn't get into the podcast, including
Meta and Google go to court in Los Angeles over user safety. The Digital Infrastructure Ireland organisation welcomes some new partners. And the EU gets tough on TikTok.
All of those stories and more online for you right now at techcentral.ie. And I just remind you, because I haven't mentioned it in a while, there's a newsletter there as well. So you get all the stories emailed to you automatically, just another service from techcentral.ie. We're back again next Friday with a brand new show. Please do remember to share our podcast in the meantime with a friend who's into tech and gadgets and all things online. Just tell them to search for Tech Radio Ireland on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever they get their podcasts. Until next time, from myself, Dusty Rhodes, and from Niall Kitson, take care. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.
Remember, you can get the latest Irish tech news with hourly updates, daily newsletters, and more at our website, techcentral.ie. Share the knowledge and invite a friend to listen. Search Apple, Spotify, or YouTube for Tech Radio Ireland. Tech Radio is produced by dustpod.io for techcentral.ie. From me, Artemis, live long and prosper.